Real estate closings. When you are the buyer, what do? After you enter into contract, you order a title report. What does that do? Well, a title report searches the chain of title. It shows it in the report and in the search. It shows who the current owner is, who owned the property before the current owner, who owned the property before them, who owned the property before them, all the way back. I don't know how far it goes. 24 rubies, gems, stones. What were those things called? Pebbles? I don't know what they originally got from Manhattan Island, but it was not too much money. Although I will tell you, I have heard with compound interest, if you had placed the $24 that the island of Manhattan cost, the compound interest that would have accumulated in the bank account would enable whoever owned that account to buy back every plot of land in every building. That's how much money would have been in the account. But I digress. Title report. It'll show the chain of title. It'll show the current mortgage. It'll show any violations, ECB violations, parking violations, Department of Housing and Building violations, rent maintenance violations. It'll show the certificate of occupancy, show a number of things. The buyer's attorney takes a look at that and ultimately has to make sure that the buyer has clear title to close. And the seller's attorney will utilize the title report to clear the title, right? That's the give and exchange. Right? In the big picture, buyer gives the money. They get the title, they get a deed, they get the ownership. But what does the seller give? The seller gives the title, gives the keys, transfers ownership, and that's exchange. Money for keys and a deed. So there's twin obligations, right? Reciprocal obligations, if you will. Buyer has to clear title, and the seller has to make sure there's clear title. The title report and search does that. And then at a closing, and there's a number of other things in the title. I'll do a more in-depth video on the title search and what's there in terms of mortgage, current taxes, unpaid taxes, demonstrate open water, various searches, any open permits, open liens, violations, encumbrances, the whole nine. And the seller has to clear those things, sometimes by affidavit. There's an ECV violation. That's on a person with my name, with my seller's name, but not on any properties that the seller previously owned. And it's not on this property. Same for parking violations. There's an open mortgage. You don't just pay with an affidavit. You pay with a check or a wire. Money is sent to the open and outstanding mortgage. The other thing to think about, if the property is being sold for $1 million, the seller can use that $1 million to pay off their customary and usual and typical and required obligations. So from the $1 million, they can pay their city and state tax. From the $1 million, they can pay any liens or violations. They can remove encumbrances, and they can pay the open and outstanding mortgage. That's what they do. That's what happens.